Hey, welcome to LongShotsTV. It's Friday night. It's college basketball. It's Sweet 16, moving on to the Elite Eight. And joining us tonight again is Donnie Rightside and Mr. Jeff Nadeau. And this episode is sponsored by SBR Sports. Hey guys, welcome in tonight. How you doing?
Doing good, big man. I mean, hey, Sweet 16 action leading right into the Elite Eight. It's been a good week for me so far. 1-0 on my premium plays. Cashed in last night with -2.5. Just clearing that bar in a real close game with Gonzaga. But hey, doesn't matter how much it clears by as long as it clears.
That's right. And Jeff, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Tony. Good to be back. Yeah, I hit mine as well last night with Oregon plus the 1. They get the outright win against the Michigan Wolverines. So, yeah, Don and I both got the job done. Thank you for inviting me on. I always like to chat with you. So thanks.
Awesome. Well, we love to have you on. Yeah, I hit my couple of plays last night too, but let's get on to tonight's action. We have 2 games in progress, obviously, North Carolina and Butler, and the help me out here.
Baylor, South Carolina.
Yeah, Baylor, South Carolina. And boys, these are not exciting games. We were just talking about this. North Carolina is putting a spanking on Butler. They're up 83-68 right now. And Baylor is also not doing well. They are down by about 20. So it's not looking good for them. But we'll move on to the other games and talk about those. Guys, we got 2 games coming up at 9 o'clock tonight. And those games are, 9:30 and 10 actually. But UCLA, Kentucky, Wisconsin, Florida. And let's talk UCLA, Kentucky first, guys. How does this game shape up for you, Donnie, when it comes to, I know you've been big on UCLA all season long. And as a betting preview, is this a game that's looking good for you, or what do you see?
Yeah, no, I have a premium play on this one, so I won't divulge which side I'm on, but have been high on UCLA for the entire year. Kentucky presents a nice matchup for them in this one. And again, the odds makers are right in the ballpark here. You're looking at right now Chris with a -1, 115 line. Pretty much across the board, you're going to get 1, -1.5. So this game's going to come right down to the wire. It's clearly the best game of the night, depending on which side that you like. I also am looking at the total in this one being 167, 167.5. which tend to believe that it's going to be a track meet, but you never know in the NCAA tournament. Some games they let them play, very rarely, and some games they just ratchet up the defensive intensity and call 100 fouls like you saw with West Virginia Gonzaga last night.
Yeah, that's true too. But I actually have a premium play on this game as well, providing the numbers are steady. But Donnie, when it comes to the points, Leaf and Monk, I mean, here's 2 prolific scorers. And you mentioned it being a track meet. I mean, do you see the defense stepping up at any point in this game, or is it just going to be a shootout?
Well, Kentucky's got the clearly edge on defense there. I mean, UCLA is coming with a top 1, 2, 3 type of offense. They tend to score just about on anybody. But the one thing UCLA does go in the laps is when they play defense themselves. That's going to be interesting to watch tonight, because if you watched 3 games this year versus Arizona, NBA talent, NBA type system, Arizona beat UCLA 2 out of 3 times. Kentucky presents the same type of matchup. I do like the way UCLA is coming into this game hot. They haven't really been tested too much in the tournament. Kentucky did show me a lot with beating Wichita State, one of the tougher teams to beat. You got to play them for a full 40 minutes on both offense and defense, and certainly with a Greg Marshall coach team there, they do present a lot of types of mismatches with that. But Kentucky, again, very talented team. UCLA, very talented team. And again, it's pretty much a coin flip at this point. If you're looking odds maker wise, I do have a decided advantage in this one. I'm just going to wait to see how it plays out.
Okay. Well, in UCLA's second round victory versus Cincinnati, UCLA's offense warmed up behind the efforts of who else but Lonzo Ball, piecing it together. Works against the Bearcats, but there's more consistency required if the Bruins are going to knock off Kentucky, obviously. For Kentucky, Bam Adebayo's 13 points, 10 rebounds versus Wichita State made him just the 3rd player in school history to record a double-double in his first 2 NCAA tournament games. Jeff, do you see the big men down low slugging it out in this game, or what's your take on this whole game?
I would imagine, Tony, this is more of a guard-oriented type of game. I will tell you right now, if it does become a front court game, I would actually look to Kentucky probably, just because, look, I like UCLA. I love Leaf, and Welsh is a nice player, but two very, you could say, soft guys. I'm not sure they can bang down low with an Adebayo, but I actually think this game's going to go under the posted total. I think this
Interesting.
line is way too high. Personally, when I have a line anywhere above 165, I tend to look under the total. I know both these teams very good offensively, but you look at the first game, 97-92, bit of a mirage. You're going to need a team to get to 90 to hit this total. I like what I've seen from Kentucky lately on the defensive end. UCLA has improved a little bit on that end, and I don't think UCLA is going to be able to hit threes like they're normally used to doing. Kentucky, a very good 3-point defense. I think this one hangs in the 160s, low 160s, maybe high 150s. I just don't see it getting into the 170s for this game to go over. I don't have a particular interest in the side. I'm not one to bet against UCLA, but I'm also not one to bet against Kentucky. So I'll look to the total probably, but not in love with this game.
Okay, total, yeah, 169.5, and just from the small ticker that I'm looking at, 51% is on the over and 49 on the under, so it's pretty evenly split, which is very interesting, because normally when these types of teams play, the public especially is going to go on the over most of the time.
Yeah, the public is definitely on the over in this game. Sharp money did come in and steam the under, but
Okay.
the over is very much public money. Again, both these teams are public teams, and we all know the public loves overs. So, I think the unders are sharp money coming in. Donnie, you would
Okay.
agree with that, right?
Yeah, it would. I mean, would have to be. I mean, I can't imagine in a tournament in a neutral court scenario that you set a line like that and the sharp's going to push that into the 170s. I mean, both these teams, can they hit the number? Sure, they can. But you're looking at, Jeff, a cold stretch of 2 to 3 minutes where maybe 1 or 2 points comes in, and that blows the 170 right out of the water. So I agree. I mean, it's either under or nothing for me if I was betting on this one.
I will point out, Tony, if I can, I actually, December 3rd, when these teams played, I actually took UCLA at 5-1 on the money line to win this game. I had some weird premonition that they were going to come out and win this game in Lexington. It was kind of one of those bets where I just kind of let my balls drop and bet the game. But I don't know that I see UCLA hitting 10 threes and Kentucky only shooting 67% from the foul line. They're going to have to be better. I think this game comes down to the wire. Good luck to both you guys. I know you have premiums on it.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, that's a good take on it. Let's talk about Wisconsin and Florida. This is an interesting game to me, because some of what I've looked at is ESPN, for instance, has a matchup predictor, and they have Florida 66% to win this game. I mean, is it that lopsided, Donnie?
The Florida-Wisconsin game, no, it's clearly not that lopsided on this. And again, just looking at the matchup, Florida opened up to me was a surprise, but they were -1.5 because just about the entire country knows what Wisconsin is capable of. They watched them beat Villanova. They've been in this situation before. So odds makers setting the number to me at 1.5 as a favorite for Florida really gave me one of those pauses there, because looking at the game itself, I thought they would set a line in Wisconsin's favor, knowing that the public would be all over Wisconsin, which they are, which
Right.
favors Florida in this matchup. I don't particularly have a play because I think it's too close to call for me being on a neutral court. Wisconsin's been there and done that. But again, setting that number at -1.5 to open really opened my eyes on Florida.
Okay, and Jeff, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I actually I do have a play on this game. This is my one play of the day. I think there's several decisive edges in this game, and I got to be honest, Tony. I think the public's each way in this game. I think there's definite reasons to back Wisconsin. Obviously, with that win on Villanova, which right
Right.
here on this show, I told you Wisconsin would win this game
Yep.
against Villanova. But I don't want to divulge what side I'm on. All I'll say is you have two very good defensive teams. You have two very similar offensive teams. But if you look and you peel back the onion, there are some issues that one side has that I just don't think are a good matchup against the side that I'm on. Again, I don't want to divulge the play.
Sure.
Donnie, you know what I'm on. What do
Yeah,
you
well,
think?
I think Jeff, I agree with you as to just from my own perspective in capping this particular game. I looked at it really hard today, and I do agree with you that there is a distinct advantage for one of these teams in there, and I won't say what that is, but I'll just say this: the betting public needs to look at this game very carefully. I think it's a trap, and you need to make your decision based on that.
Yeah, put it this way. I mean, when I cap a game, I look at obviously free throw percentages, 3-point defense,
Sure.
all sorts of, basically the 5 starters and kind of the things that they've done. Really little things. But, Tony, as you know, Donnie, as you know, there's 4 games tonight, 3 of which I'm not interested in. I try to keep it low volume. There's always going to be a play that, we can't speak about. But, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I'm on the right side.
Okay, no problem. Well, if we just look at some numbers here, look, I'll just go through just a couple of numbers so that the betting people watching the show can kind of make their decision if they're looking at this game. But effective field goal percentage for Wisconsin is 52%. For Florida, it's 51.7, almost 52%. The only difference that I see in just the basic stats on this is 3-point shooting when it comes to defense for one of these teams. One other thing that is glaring to me is free throw percentage in looking at these games too. So maybe that'll help some guys out when they're looking at this, and we didn't give anything away, I hope.
Yeah, these lines are very, Donnie can agree, these lines are very sharp. I mean, you're not getting a lot of wiggle room in a lot of these games. Listen, if there were 10 other games off the reservation that were going on, I would probably involve myself with them. I'm not a big fan of betting these high-profile games, but sometimes you have edges in them, and I'll fire on that edge tonight.
Okay. Donnie, I know you're the same way about that, but with the 2 games that are going on later tonight, we talked about UCLA, Kentucky. The other game is Kansas, well, that's tomorrow, but I'm sorry, Wisconsin and Florida. And I know you're on one of those, but is there any surprises in these? Because the first 2 games, I guess the point I'm trying to make here is these first 2 games are not what we'd expect in the Sweet 16. I mean, they're just basically total blowouts. Baylor is down 55-38, and North Carolina is topping Butler 90-74 right now. So are we going to see that kind of game out of these next 2 games, or
you wanted Butler to show up a little bit better against North Carolina? I mean, they were clearly underhanded in this game, but you would hope maybe the system style and pedigree that Butler had, that they would be able to creep into this game. But Notre Dame just throttled them from start to finish. And South Carolina just plays an ugly brand of basketball, and Baylor can just feed right into that, as you see with 38 points with 7 minutes to go in the game. It's really bad basketball. It's a shame that Madison Square Garden got shoved with Wisconsin and Florida and South Carolina Baylor. I mean, it's really like setting back the clock on, up-tempo basketball 50 years, because you really wanted to see 2 different teams there. You wanted to see Duke in the Garden. You wanted to see Nova in the Garden go toe-to-toe. It didn't happen. I don't mind the pot. I mean, the game of the day clearly is UCLA, Kentucky. That's everybody's trying to hit the fast-forward key just to get to that game, because that's going to be a fun one. Up-tempo, skilled players, top 10 NBA players. The rest of the games are just fodder tonight to me.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's jump down to tomorrow's game, Xavier and Gonzaga. Well, first off, Jeff, did anybody think Xavier would make it this far?
No. No one did, and if you did, I'd like to hear from you. But yeah, no. Listen, I mean, I think coming out of the Big East, look, Chris Mack's a great coach. He's been to the Final Four, including this one 4 times, or not the Final Four, Sweet 16 4 times, and all those seeds were lower than a 6 seed. So, was I surprised that he got there? No. Was I surprised this team got there? Yes. This team at one point was terrible. I mean, they weren't good at all back in February. I mean, they were winning.
Yeah.
The only games they were winning were against DePaul. They lost their point guard, Edmund Sumner. Early in the year, Miles Davis, one of their better players, he left the program. No, I'm blown away that they're in these Elite 8 and possibly going to the Final Four. I can't believe it personally.
Donnie, what about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm on the same wavelength in that respect. I mean, I can't add too much more than that. Right now, I'm just buckled and ready to go in this next one coming up, man.
To be honest, Tony, I really had this team fifth or sixth in this conference. I thought even like a Seton Hall, Providence, I thought they were better. Marquette, I thought they were all better than Xavier. And look, I thought the two first wins they had were a little, okay, you beat Florida State and Maryland, big deal. Both those were frauds. And then you're going to beat Arizona straight up as an 8-point underdog. That's impressive. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. I did not have them past the second round, so which is what most people, I think,
I didn't have them winning the first game.
Yeah. Really? Interesting.
I had them out the first round.
Okay, let's talk about Kansas and Oregon, the Ducks. Tyler Dorsey will be the absolute key to getting the Ducks through in Kansas City. KU, it's the first team since UConn in '95 to open up the NCAA tournament by scoring at least 90 points in 3 straight games. So to me, it doesn't look like Kansas has that same firepower anymore. And then, of course, Oregon lost Boucher, and it doesn't seem to be affecting them at all. Donnie, what is your take on the Ducks against Kansas?
Initially looking at the line, opens up and looks like, Chris is sitting at -7 right now in favor of Kansas. I always like to throw the last game out of the equation, especially in tournament games, playoff situations, because Joe Public is always here to watch. They watched the destruction and complete dismantling of Purdue by Kansas the other night. You want to take that out of your mind because there's clearly going to be attacks on Kansas because the betting public now saying, oh my God, Kansas is the best team left in the tournament. They're the best. Oh my God. And Oregon barely escaped Michigan. Meanwhile, Michigan's a good team and damn near beat, Oregon in the last game coming up. So I think that this game, to me, on a neutral court, now keep in mind, it is in Missouri. Kansas is used to playing on that home turf, going to have a home court advantage similar to what Kentucky's going to have tonight down in Memphis over UCLA. But it's just too many points in a tournament like this. Don't look at it as saying, you need Oregon to win. You need Oregon to stay within 7. So what does that technically mean? If they're down 10 in the last minute and there's 22 seconds left to go, Kansas is just saying, don't foul, don't do anything. The wide open threes will be there. The backdoor cover is going to be open in this game. Do you want to step in front of Kansas at this point? Probably not. But again, you're not asking Oregon to win the game.
Okay. And Jeff, similar feeling, or you have a different take?
Not particularly. I don't think that this game's even going to be that close, so I don't really know that the back door will be open. Again, we could point out that Oregon, they really allowed Michigan to stay in that game. They had ample opportunities to extend the lead, couldn't do it. You mentioned the Boucher thing. I'm not sure that affects them that much. Jordan Bell's been really good, and they've gotten a lot of effort from Tyler Dorsey. But I guess I can also point out, though, that last night, Dylan Brooks was virtually MIA in that game, and they still won. But I don't know. I have to look into this one a little bit more. I'm really not interested in stepping in front of a team that's won by 38, 33, and 20. And you look at last night, they couldn't miss. 15 threes, just a total rout. And what's so crazy about it was Purdue in the first half was really looking really good, Donnie. I remember we were watching the game during our show. And
7-8 point lead. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was just really an impressive showing. And it's not like we could say, well, Kansas probably won't shoot like that again. They probably will. They're really good offensively. I'm just not sure. From whatever reason, I'm not that impressed with Oregon. I don't feel like I don't know. There's just something about them I don't like. I think Kansas just has too much. I won't be involved with this game. I know that.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking that Kansas is right now the top dog coming through. But Donnie, right now we have Kansas, Purdue, Kansas, Oregon, and then the Wisconsin-Florida game yet to be played tonight. And it looks like South Carolina is going to roll over Baylor to earn their spot to the Elite Eight. So potentially here we've got South Carolina and then the winner of the Wisconsin-Oregon game, and then Kansas-Oregon. So out of those 4, who do you think there is going to make it through the Final Four?
Clearly, it's the game of the weekend again starts tonight, and you're going to get a double game of the weekend with whoever wins. UCLA Kentucky is going to match up against North Carolina. It's almost like, I mean, my brackets have already been busted with Villanova getting knocked out. So I mean, I just have rooting interest on good games. It's a shame that those two are going to play in that quadrant down there, because that technically probably should be the final, UCLA versus North Carolina, let's just say, or Kentucky versus that. This, pod up here in New York City, you're going to get, South Carolina's going to win this game. And let's just say Florida wins the next game. I mean, that's another game that you might as well just take 3 sleeping pills just to try to get through. Again, that region was just destroyed with a bunch of upsets and a lot of boring basketball there. There's money to be made in there, don't get me wrong in that, but sure. I have no interest in watching South Carolina versus either Wisconsin or Florida at all.
Okay, Jeff, your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, he makes a good point. Whether it's Wisconsin or Florida against South Carolina, it's not something that I think helps the NCAA. And with the inabilities of these officials, I'm not sure there's a lot that's going to be exciting about these games. I mean, obviously, like he mentioned, I mean, the UNCs and the Kentuckys and the Kansas, people want to watch, but this east side of the bracket's been completely gutted. And thank God Gonzaga's still alive, because without them, I mean, could you imagine like West Virginia, Xavier? I mean, it would just be wretched basketball. A lot of people don't want to watch defensive struggles. I don't mind. I enjoy Wisconsin, watching them play. I enjoy Florida, but I just can't get into South Carolina.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. I think that everybody wants to see that shootout. They want to see the basketball run up and down and points scored, hitting a lot of threes. It's just more fun for everybody. It's a lot of action.
I don't just to step in on that point. I don't even mind the fact that like South Carolina is playing, but you can't have like a South Carolina clone play each other like this Baylor game. Like South Carolina going up against maybe the Tar Heels. I like to watch that. The same way, like, North Carolina Butler was a butt whip, and you hope Butler could slow it down. It was still a 92-80 game. I mean, 63-41 with 4 minutes left to play, a lot of fouls, and just not creative basketball is not what you like. Because again, Wisconsin going up against Villanova, that was a fun game to watch, even though it wasn't that clean. You had some precision on both sides. In this, it's just like, one or two guys are leaned on for offense and, just pack it in and play really good defense, a la like, a Virginia team would play it. So wide open is one thing, but I don't mind if another team can play defense. I like to see how they match up versus the real athletic teams.
I think one thing also that we have to point out here is Gonzaga got really lucky that Villanova, Duke, SMU, Virginia, all these teams got knocked out, because to me personally, I think Gonzaga waltzes to the championship game. I really don't see any of these teams left. I mean, we have to also understand Gonzaga has not even played well, and they're still at the Elite Eight. I mean, that's right. I mean, Donnie, you would agree they've played terribly. I think.
They had probably, Jeff. You would agree. West Virginia, honestly, outside of maybe UCLA, because you haven't seen them play that type of tempo, but UCLA doesn't play nearly the defense. A West Virginia team is exactly what Gonzaga doesn't want to play against. It's going to force them to rush. They have better athletes technically. They can get up and down. And if it's a game where they call fouls equally, because West Virginia fouls way more than any other team in the country, then you're going to be in trouble. And for the fact that they came back and pulled that one out says a lot about that team, because, again, you're going to watch them go up against Xavier. Is Xavier talented? Yes. Xavier's not going to put the pressure on Gonzaga that you need to put on them in order to force them into errors.
Okay.
I think this team waltzes into the title game. They really got a great draw, and if they don't get to the title game, it's sorely on them.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to agree with both of you on that. Actually, West Virginia. Sorry, had a light fall over. West Virginia actually beat themselves in that game. I think. I think they had several opportunities for them to put Gonzaga away. They just
Tony,
didn't handle
keep in mind, it was a very difficult game to try to do what you wanted to do in that game. The officials made it impossible to do anything. I mean, Tony, there's 51 fouls called in the game, for God's sakes. I mean, another game ridiculous. Tonight with Butler UNC, yet another game with 40 or more fouls in it. We also have a team that's barely scraped 40 points. It's just a wretched tournament. There's been nothing exciting about it, and I've not been. I'm a college basketball head. Everyone knows that. I've not been interested in this tournament very much.
Yeah, it's not been the greatest for me either, and we did talk about this before the first time you were on, that the tournament just hasn't been as exciting and challenging as in the past. It's just kind of been a letdown. But what does that say for college basketball as a whole? I mean, do we see next year these teams going out and recruiting different players? I mean, what's going to change, Jeff?
I'm not sure it will change. I think this is where we are in this sport at this point. Um, you know, look, you're going to continue to get very good recruits. You're going to continue to get kids that play their ass off. The problem is they don't stay longer than a year, and it's really hurt
Right.
the pedigree of this game. And the transfer stuff has killed it. The officiating's been horrible, and it's mediocrity, really. I mean, you have teams that, again, it's nice to see teams like South Carolina get the Elite Eight, but
Sure.
for basketball, it's not good at all. I mean,
Yeah.
no one wants to see these teams. And
Okay.
we see it in this Madison Square Garden. There's no one there.
Right.
It's scarce.
So the potential most exciting game of the tournament, could it be UCLA, Gonzaga?
Wow.
Now, the next two games to me, UCLA, Kentucky, and then whoever survives that game and plays Carolina will be the most exciting games. But one thing that can save the tournament, in my eyes, let's just say, Carolina makes it to the title game. Gonzaga needs to make it on the other side of the bracket to have a compelling matchup. Because if we have, UNC versus Xavier in the final, I mean, what are we looking at?
Yeah,
that would be total. That would be horrible for. It's basically like the similarity of like when you have a middle in Las Vegas when both sides. It would be disastrous for the NCAA if Xavier, South Carolina, if that kind of team gets to the final. It wouldn't be good at all.
It's got to be Gonzaga, Wisconsin coming out of the East, and you're going to have hopefully a good matchup coming out of the West. But it can vary. I mean, if Gonzaga stumbles, and let's just say it's Florida and Xavier in the Final Four in one half of the bracket, good night.
I don't mind Florida so much. I think they're kind of interesting. I think they're a decent team. They're an SEC team, but yeah, Xavier, South Carolina. I know they're an SEC team, but Xavier, South Carolina would be dreadful. That would be a dreadful thing.
Okay, well, it's going to be interesting to say the least to see how this plays out. Hopefully, it will become a little bit more interesting, especially Final Four and the finals itself, because it's been a disaster for this season, and unfortunately, it has presented some betting opportunities. I think you guys will agree, but other than that,
for the most part, I don't know about you guys, but between the NIT and this tournament and all the other ones, I'm surely in the green. I've done really well in this tournament. I'm just saying, from a pure casual basketball, are they watching these games? I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe next year we'll be talking about the NIT instead of the NCAA tournament.
I'd much rather talk about the NIT, Tony, if you wanted. I would definitely rather talk about that. But it'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes, but hopefully these games ramp up tonight.
Okay. Any parting comments there, Jeff?
No, I always appreciate having me on. You're always a good host, and I have to ask. I know Donnie asked this, but why don't you face the camera? I always wondered that.
Well, it's interesting because
it's not his good side, Jeff.
It's not my good side, and I get paid for this side, but actually it's a production thing. If you're not, you guys are probably not looking at the broadcast, but the studio screen, I'm actually talking to you where you're at on the screen, and let me give you guys a little hidden secret. All the information and knowledge that I'm using to ask the questions is right over there on another monitor.
Okay, got it.
So I can watch the games. I can look at the, try to find interesting points about what we're talking about to bring up, so that we're providing content that's interesting to you guys, that's entertaining for you guys, and hopefully we can help you out a little bit from a betting standpoint. And that's what we're going to try and do more of in the future, guys, is really getting into the betting aspect of each individual matchups, so that our viewers can look at these games and get some education and hopefully go out and place winning bets. That's what we're all about, okay?
I will say this. I appreciate you having me on, Tony. I'd urge anyone out there, come on over and take a look at what I'm doing at SBRforum.com. We have videos. Donnie and I have 2 different shows a week that we do, and we would all urge you to come over and take a look. We'll answer questions, anything you need. Thanks for having me on.
All right, appreciate it. And Donnie, any comments for you?
I'm looking forward to this next game here, Tony. We're going to do this a lot, and don't forget that me and Tony will be together 5 times a week starting the baseball season, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know Jeff's going to be a frequent guest on that show as well. We'll have a lot of fun just breaking it down all summer long, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, I can't wait for baseball. That's one of my favorite sports. So, all right, guys, well, thanks for being here, and that's been Long Shots TV for tonight. And remember to take a shot with Long Shots because we are the game. Have a good night, guys.